Going live, going, 1, 2, 3. You're live, 1, 2, 3. And hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way, everyone. I'm glad to be here for another great show full of information. And being October, it is time for spooky stuff. And what better to start out with Madame Boblotsky. Of course, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, and if I have made it wrong, please inform me of that. But you know, my English isn't so good sometimes. Even though I read the words, it doesn't come out of my mouth just quite right. So excuse me for that. But this here is the lady that we're going to be talking about right there, Madame Blavatsky. Now, she was an interesting lady who grew up in Europe, traveled the world around, studied all the esoteric and different religions all over the place. And she spent a lot of time in India. Why India? Because that was a living religion that hadn't been changed. It's really old over there, you know. She traveled the world. She went to Egypt. She went to America. She went to the Indians, and she's seen all the religions that there were to see. She studied each and every one and came up with a fascinating bunch of stuff. And this here book is The Secret Doctrine, Volume 1 of the Cosmogenesis. And so if you haven't heard of that, she also has this book, which is Isis Unveiled, Volume 2, The Theology. Well, we're not going to get into this book tonight. We are going to go straight to the first volume because it starts out with most everything. You know, start out with the first volume. Let's see what she found out. And she talks about, in the beginning of the book, she talks about Krishna. I'll read a little bit out of here so we can get a good idea of what is really going on. The exaltless doctrine of yoga, a former taught. Oh, shoot, I should have my thing here. Hang on, people. I am winging it tonight. I wasn't gonna bring. Oh, here it is. My little bookmark and my reading light. Have to do that. Oh yeah, Pearl Jones is in the house, and Travis the Brick, thank you for coming. Okay, back to our study tonight. Krishna, the exaltedness doctrine of yoga, formerly taught to Vishwa, communicated to Manu, and Manu made it known to Ishkawudu, and being thus transmitted from one unto another, it was studied by the Rashises. At length, at the course of time, the mighty art was lost. Go figure. Oh, harassers of thy foes, it is even the same exaltedness, secret, eternal doctrine I have this day communicated unto thee, because thou art my devotee and my friend. That's Krishna. And Arjun was there, seeing that the birth of the prosperer to the life of Ishkwa. Now am I to understand that thou wert in the beginning the teacher of this doctrine? And Krishna, it goes on and blah, blah, blah. Well, and if you want to know about that, read the Bhagavad Gita. You can get it on audiobook. It's really good. I listened to it in my truck. Anyway, it goes on. This is a really full of everything book. This book is dedicated. She did the whole thing. She adapts from the Aryan race, showing bearing the occult philosophy upon the conduct of life and how as it ought to be. Should the present volumes meet the favorable representation, no effort will be spared to carry out the scheme of the work of the entirety. The third volume is entirely ready. The fourth almost so. Can't wait to get into this. So we are going to skip right over and we're going to go right to the important stuff of what we're going to talk about tonight. And that, because I do the work by reading all the book and then I bring it to you so that you can get the most out of this. And of course, we're going to go with the army of the voice. And since we all have a voice, you know, We're an army. It says, this was the army of the voice, the divine separatory. The sparks of the seven are subject to, and the servants of the first and second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and the seventh of the seven. These are the called spheres, triangles, cubes, lines, and modulators. Over thus stands the eternal Nina and the Awahu. Yeah, Awahu. Okay, and since I can't pronounce that very good, the Soka, and I think she's talking about the Indian stuff, because I think she studied India magic stuff very, very much. We're going to do a little bit more about Boblotsky later on and give you more detailed background of her in another episode. The Soka gives a brief analysis of the hierarchies of the Dhyana, the Koras, called divas, gods, in India. See, I told you she was talking about India. And the conscious, intelligent powers in nature. It's all about the nature, people. To this hierarchy correspond the actual types into which humanity may be divided, for the humanity as a whole is in reality a materialized thought, as yet imperfect expression thereof. The army of the voice is a term closely connected with the mystery of sound and speech. As you notice, we are the only people, are the only critter on earth that has speech. Other animals have sound, but is it really speech? That's the question. Okay, divine thought as beautifully expressed by P. Christian, the learned author of, okay. And it goes on here. Let's see, the history. This is a literal translation, 10 numbers with a what? The one spirit of the living God, whose liveth in eternities, voice and spirit of and word. And this is the Holy Spirit. 2, spirit out of spirit. He designed and hewn there within 22 letters of foundation, 3 mothers, 7 double, and 12 single, and 1 spirit out of them. 3 water out of spirit. He designed and hewn with them the barren and the void, mud and earth. He designed them as a flower bed, hewn when as a wall, covered them as a paving. 4, fire out of water. He designed the hewn there within a throne of glory, and the wheels of the seraphim, and the holy animals, and the ministering angels. And of the 3 he found his dwelling, as it was said, show clearly as Kabbalah, as in India. The deity was considered as universe and was not, in its origin, the extra cosmic God he is now. So what does all that mean? What does that mean? It means, I don't know, this is my interpretation of it, that this God created everything. He hewed everything in sequence, putting all the pieces together like a big giant puzzle. The literally significance of the word is, among the Eastern occultists of the North, a circular whirlwind, but in this instance, it is a term to denote the ceaseless and eternal cosmic motion, or rather the forces that moves it. Which force is tactically accepted as a deity but never named? It is the eternal karna, the ever-acting cause. Yes, the cause and effect event. If you speak it, it shall be done. Okay, the history of magic and the Hummel Rodriguez de something, the word spoken by as well as the name of every individual largely determine his future fate. Why? Because when our soul and our mind creates or invokes a thought, the representative sign of that thought is engraved upon the astral fluid, and which is a receptacle, and is to say the mirror of all manifesting of being. So Basically, you're saying if you speak it, if you speak it, if you think it, and you speak it, it shall be, or it shall go out into the astral. It shall be engraved as astral fluid, and then it will mirror all the manifestations of being. That means it will be done. It will come to pass. Yes. Anyway, the sign expresses the thing. The thing is the hidden or the occult, the virtue of the sign. Remember, signs are very powerful. Okay, to pronounce a word is to invoke a thought and make it present. So as you speak, you're bringing forth the thoughts from your head, speaking. I want money. I want to have a good day. I want stuff, I want to, or you could say, why am I always saying want? Or maybe you just want to, you're speaking forth favor, be good. I'm glad it's sunny. But whatever I think is my thought, and it's manifesting, and I speak it. And then okay, so pronounce a word, invoke a thought, and make it present in the magnetic potency of the human speech. That's why we have speech, because we're powerful beings. Is a commencement of every manifestation in the occult world. To utter a name is not only to define a being or entity, but to place it under the condemn it, though the emission of the word verbatim, to influence of one or more oracle prophecies. Things are for every one of us that which the word makes them while naming them. That's right. You name your dog, you name your car. Sometimes people name things, cars, houses, Betty Lou, Betty Lou the car, anyway, the word verbatim or speech of every man is quite unconsciously to himself a blessing or a curse. This is why our present ignorance about the prophecies or properties, about the properties or attributes of the idea, as well as about the attributes of properties of matter, is often fatal to us. So as we create, we are creating, we're speaking it into, we're manifesting it, and then it comes back to haunt us. And it could be a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes, you wish for something good, you manifest it, and then it comes back to bite you in the butt. It's not, I know people that this is happening to. Yes, names and words are either beneficent or magnificent, and they are in a certain sense either venomous or health giving. How many of you have cursed yourselves? Really? Have you cursed yourself? Have you gone out and said, gosh darn it, why the hell did I hit my thumb? See what I'm saying? And you curse yourself and you say, blah, 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 I'm having a bad day. And then you just make it worse. Don't you ever say, wow, I never really stopped? And stop, think, say different things. It will change your day. Okay. Hidden influence attached by supreme wisdom to their elements, so that it is to say to the letters which compose them and the numbers correlative to the letters. What does that mean? The letters which compose them and the numbers correlative to these letters. Is that telling us that each letter is corresponding to a number? Is that gematria? Are they talking about gematria? Letters to numbers. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. And if each one has a number, which one does it correspond with? This is strictly true as an esoteric teaching accepted by the Eastern schools of occultism. in the Sanskrit, it is also in the Hebrew and in other alphabets. Every letter has its occult meaning and its rationale. It is a cause and effect of the preceding cause, and a combination of these very often produces most magical effect. These vowels, especially containing the most occult and formidable potencies, the mantras, esoterically magical rather than religious, are chanted by the Brahmins and also the Vedas and the scriptures. You know, they chant. You never hear them. You know, you've heard it on the movies anyway. The army of the voice is the prototype of the host of the Logos, or the word of the Sefer Zerubabel. It's called in the secret doctrine the number one issued from the no number of the one eternal principle. The esoteric theogony begins with the one. The one. Remember, in the beginning, in the Holy Bible, it says, you know, the word was spoken and blah blah blah, and it became with a word. Well, the word is a frequency. So, what word was spoken? That's the question. Was it one word? Was it a long word? Was it a syllable? It was a frequency. Whatever it was a frequency. I'm doing a thing on Moses, and I think that Hebrew stuff was quite the deal. If I could find some of that stuff, I got Hebrew stuff here somewhere. And if I can find it, I will put it up. But anyway, it's always talking about different, you know, Hebrew words and letters. Those are like very important. Oh, maybe nope, any in there. I'm trying to find the folder that I have, and then I will share it with you all. I don't know where I put it. But it's here somewhere, and I will find it. But it's those things, those Hebrew letters and words that we can look back at, and I'm sure other languages have them too. English is not really, how should I put it, a good language with those kind of words, you know what I mean? Oh, there, third eye. Oh, where it was. I'm looking for the thing. Anyway, English is a mix. It's like a mutt of all, and of course we don't speak our words like oh, there it is. Subconscious mind. Yes. Here we go. We don't speak words in the English language like they did back in the day. Back in the day, they spoke words like this. And each word, like Y, yod, te, chet, then, va, he, dot, gimel, bet, alf, yan, shamat, nam, men, lamd, kaf, I'm sure I'm saying these wrong, kaf, shin, ra, kyu, tish, tishra, fe, pe, you know, it's all, you know, and these are, some of these are silent. La, L is lam, lam, l. I wish I knew how to actually, of course, I don't speak Hebrew, so there you go. There's your thing for the day of what's what. Okay, the Army of the Voice. Oh, back to the Army of the Voice. One number issued for no number, and the one eternal principle. The esoteric theology begins with the one manifested thereof, not eternal. It is a presence and the being. If eternal is in the essence, the number of the numbers and the numbered, the latter proceeding from the voice, the feminine, the vach, or the sapru, or of the 100 forms, or nature. It is from this number 10 or creative nature, the mother, the occult cipher or naught, even procreating and multiplying in union with the unit one or the spirit of life, that the whole universe proceeded. That's right, the spirit of life. The kuf, the resh, is the trick, is located. Yes, yes. Speech and mind. In the argument, the conversation is given between a Brahma and his wife on the origin of speech and its occult prophecies. The wife asks how speech came into existence and which was prior to the other, speech or mind. The Brahma tells her that the inspirational breath becoming Lord changes that intelligence, which does not understand speech or words, into the state of a pan, and thus opens the mind. Thereupon, he tells her a story, a dialogue between speech and mind. Both went into self of being. The individual, the higher self, the Nakata, thinks to Pajet P.T., according to the commentator. So speech or mind. So does that tell us that at one point in time we didn't speak, we just used our brains and mental telepathy? And asked him to destroy their doubts and decided which of them proceeded and which was superior to the other. To this the Lord said, my mind is superior, but speech answered the self of being by saying, I verily yield your desires, meaning that the speech is acquired what he desired. Thereupon again, self told her that there are two minds, the movable and the immovable. The immovable is within me, he said. The movable is your dominant speech on a plane of matter. To that you are superior, but Ishmush, a beautiful and one as you can personally to speak to me in the way you did. Therefore, O Shavati, you shall never speak after. Exaltation, the goddess speech. Later, the form of aspect or Devach, the goddess, also secret learning or esoteric wisdom, barely dwelt always between the prawn and the apan. But, O noble one, going with the pan, wind, the vital air, through impelled, though the pan, expirational breath, she ran up to the Brahman saying, be pleased, O veritable sir. Then the prawn appeared again, nourishing speech, and therefore speech never speaks after, hard or inspirational. Exaltation, it is always noisy or noiseless. One of these two, the noiseless, is superior to the noisy. The speech, which is produced in the body by means of the prawn, and which then goes is transformed into the apan, and then becomes assimilated into the udon. Yes, physically organs of speech that and finally dwells in the saman, at the navel, in the form of sound, as the material causes all words, says Arjuna. So speech formerly spoke. Hence the mind is disgusted by reason of being immovable, and the goddess of speech by reason of her being movable. So there you go. Speech is a physical form, and non-speech of the mind is the non-form, the immovable. So you can have the immovable of your mind, and then you can have the movable, because once you bring your speech into your voice, bring it up through your chakras and out your voice, then it becomes matter. That's a pretty good way to look at it. This allegory is the root of the occult law, which prescribes silence upon the knowledge of certain secret and invisible things. perceptible only by the spiritual mind, the sixth sense, and which cannot be expressed by the noisy or utter speech. And you know who there's people out there that utter a lot of speech and they're just noisy. They don't say anything, do they? This chapter of Argula explains, says Arjun Mastara Panomana, or regulation of the breath of the yoga practices. You notice when you do yoga, they do breathe out. You know what I mean? Okay, this mode, however, without the previous acquisition, or at least the full understanding of the two senses, of which there are 7, and which will be shown, pertains rather to the lower yoga, the high thought, or so-called was and still discountenanced by the arcats, it is injurious to the health and alone can never develop into Raja Yoga. This story is quoted to show how inseparably connected are the metaphysics of the old intelligent beings, or rather intelligences, with every sense or function, whether physical or mental. The cult claim that there are 7 senses in man, as in nature, as in there are 7 states of consciousness collaborated in the same work, chapter or Purana. Okay, the regulation of the senses being the winds or the breath. Yeah, you blow wind and breath. Okay, in which dwelling in the minute, the space, did not pose smell. Without me, the eye does not take in color, etc. I am the eternal chief, or like the fires of the flame in which are extinct. Without me, all beings, like the fuel, have dried and have moist, fail to apprehend qualities or objects, even with the sense of exerting themselves. This, of course, with regard to the mind of the sensuous plane, spiritual mind, the upper portion or aspect of the impersonal, the mantas, takes no consonance of the sense of physical man. How well the ancients were acquainted with the correlation of forces and the recent discoveries and phenomena of the mental and physical faculties, the functions of many, many more mysteries also, many being found in reading chapters, and such. We'll get to that. We will get to those. Okay, we're going to skip down here. See the coral senses, the creatures of the better. You are the great all. You are all greatest and not great S. We're all great. That's not just the greatest. We are all the greatest, or superior to objects. Yes, we are. See, you got to use your mind. Use your mind. And if you ever talk to a ghost, is it really speaking? Because it doesn't have any vocal cords. So is it just talking in your head mentally and you're just hearing it that way? Is there an unmoving wind, life breath or breath, the yogi inhalation or so-called, which is the breath of the one or the higher self, the breath of the higher self? That is the one or my own self accumulated in numerous forms. The breath of your higher self. Is your higher self breathing? The breath, the voice, the self, or the wind is the synthesis of the 7 senses, new mentally or minor deities and esoterically. Next, we come see the cosmic matter scattering and forming itself into elements grouped into the mystic 4 within the 5th element, either the lining of the Akasha or the Anamuni, or mother of cosmos, dot lines, triangles, cubes, circles, and finally spheres. Why or how? Because they say contemporary. Such is the first law of nature. Yes, things develop in circles and spheres. That's the natural state of things. When you drop a drop of water into a puddle, it makes a round sphere. It doesn't make a square. Why or how? Because says the contemporary, just is the first law of nature. And because nature geometrizes universally in all her manifestations, there is an inherent law. That's right. There's always a law for everything. And not only is the primordial, but it also manifested matter of the phenomenal plane by which nature correlates her geometrical forms, and later also her compound elements, and in which there is no place for accident or chance. Do you ever notice everything always seems so perfect? Like every animal, one animal eats grass and the other animal eats that animal, and that animal eats such and such, and it goes up the line. And then the bugs feed off of that animal, and so forth and so on. And everything has a place and everything has a purpose. There's nothing out of line, or it doesn't exist. It's the fundamental laws of occultism, and there is no rest or sensation of motion in nature. That is that which seems rest is only the change of the form into another, the change of substance going hand in hand with that form, as we taught in our occult physics, which thus seems to have anticipated the discovery of the conservation of matter by the considerable time, says the ancient contemporary. The mother is the fiery fish of life. She scatters her spawn, and the breath heats and quickens. The grains of spawn are soon attracted to each other and form the curds on the ocean. The larger lumps coalesce and review new spawn in fiery dots, triangles, and cubes, which ripen. And at the appointed time, some of the lumps detach themselves and assume spherical form, and process which they effect only when not interfered by with others. After which law number whatever comes out into operation. Motion, the breath, becomes the whirlwind and sets them into rotation. Well, what do you think of that? It all boils down to that. And that is the end of the Army of the Voice. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that. It's been a good evening listening to that. I was really into that. I'll find you something more. And we're going to talk about we're going to come back with other things for the rest of Halloween coming up. We're going to have costumes, and we're going to find out why are we wearing costumes? Why is our voice so powerful? And why is October the change of seasons? Oh yeah, because it's the change of seasons. It's all going to be great. But I hope you enjoyed Boblotsky and that little bit on the Army of Voice. Like I said, she went out and she studied a lot of time in India, a lot of that stuff. So we're going to hear a lot of those things resonating in the things she talks about. She did study all these other religions and stuff, but I think she focuses a lot on the Indian religions from India. We also have Manly P. Hall coming up, and we'll be finding out about him and what does he have to say about magical stuff. We're going to hear about from all these greats. I also have what is this guy? I forget what that guy is, but we do have. We got some magic books. I got this one. It's the Moonchild. You died. We're going to read a little bit out of this sooner or later. This is going to be interesting. Going to be talking about rituals and how to do some of that. Hope you find that good. We'll be talking about some thought forms in the future, magical use of thought forms. And I was talking to somebody about thought forms earlier, and how we have so many thought forms and that we made up, and a lot of things aren't even real. We have brought them into reality through our thoughts and our voice. And that's why I started out with the voice, because by speaking it, it has become real. And if you can guess who those people are that have become real by speaking their name and whatever, just let me know. Send me an email. I appreciate to hear from all of you. Thank you all for coming tonight. I want a big shout out to Elderberry, Scotty Boy, Desert Rose, Ashley, and who else was in here? Travis the Brick, And Pearl Jones, thank you all for coming. We're going to have more coming up later on. We're going to do and Pa Joe. Yeah, Pa Joe. And if you guys want to hear anything about what about the magical stuff, if you have thoughts on that, send me an email. I'll be happy to look it up and do a little research on all of that. So with that, go out, be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all, everyone. Have a great evening. It was great being here, and I enjoy it so much. Thank you all. Remember, peace, everybody.